Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot see.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith, and it's welcome back to Ross Gregory after a couple of weeks off. How are you, Ross?
I'm good, thanks, Steve. Yeah, nice and well, I say refreshed. I'm still shattered. Long, busy day today, but sometimes that's the way holidays are, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate. When you've got young ones, definitely the case. You're preaching to the converted here, mate. 100%. But Newcastle United, busy times there as well. Press conference today. Eddie Howe sitting in front of the press and media, giving us an update on the injury crisis, which has hit Newcastle. I call it a crisis, but you know, it just means we go to Liverpool under strength by the fact that we are missing Callum Wilson again. Bruno, of course, still out. Hope for him to be back at the weekend. ASM, who I think most of us saw rubbing his hamstring, feared the worst. Those of us who were down at Wolves, again, looks like he's going to miss tomorrow as well. There was good news. I think a lot of us feared for Kieran Trippier. Tranmere, of course, he went down. He was down for a long period. We thought that could be an issue, but he played at the weekend, and again looked as if he was, carrying something. There was, he kept, clutching various parts of his leg. It could have been his groin at one stage, and I had a fear that, especially with him not taking the free kick at the end of the game, that maybe he was going to be missing. But the good news is he's going to be okay for the trip to Anfield. But yeah, look, a bit of an injury crisis. Add to that, we've spent 60 million plus on a new striker, and the work permit, as of this morning at the press conference, still hadn't come in. Could be a bit of kidology. It wouldn't be the first time that Eddie Howe has kidded opposition managers. The players aren't going to be available, and then suddenly they've surfaced. But ultimately, at the moment, he's got until 75 minutes before kickoff to get that paperwork sorted. But yeah, injuries playing their part, Ross, early doors.
Yeah, look, you get this at the start of a season. I think games come thick and fast, especially after lengthy layoffs or an intense pre-season. Newcastle had a really, really intense and robust pre-season, and I appreciate not, all the players didn't play in all of the games. There was a lot of, 45 minutes here and 30 minutes there. But it's part and parcel of the game. I think the Bruno one's quite interesting in the sense that, what's everyone's opinion on him coming on the last 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes against Tranmere? Was it needed? He picks up or aggravates another knock, or in a game at a time where, was he really needed? Was it a bit of much of a risk? It's a tricky one, because I think you can look at it from both sides. You can say, well, he wasn't needed and it was an unnecessary risk. Equally, you can say, well, look, putting somebody on for 6 or 7 or 10 minutes, it doesn't, you can't guarantee whether they're going to stay fit, or they could pick up an injury in 1 minute. They could play 90 minutes and not pick up an injury. So it's an interesting one. But what I think it does highlight with the number of injuries and the number of concerns is that the squad is still not quite where obviously we hope it's going to be in future months and years. We're still relying on a lot of key players, and if they get injured, if St. Maximin gets injured, if Callum Wilson gets injured, if Bruno gets injured, if Kieran Trippier gets injured, then there's a core of key players who are really important to Newcastle, and we don't have the same level of quality of replacements in the squad. So yeah, a slight concern, I suppose, but look, it's what squad's all about. Eddie Howe's come out and said, look, that most of them are short-term injuries as well, so there's nothing to be overly concerned about, and I don't think it'll change their approach in the last couple of days of the transfer window too much. But yeah, it would be great to see a fully fit Newcastle side out at Liverpool on Wednesday night, but it's obviously not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the course. I mean, if under Steve Bruce people were saying that we were getting injuries because the players weren't training as much, now they're saying we're training too much. I've seen on social media, you cannot win, can you? You really can't. But yeah. I mean, I guess Mark Byers asks the question lots of people would like to know the answer to, and he says injury situation couldn't be much worse. It could. We could be without a goalkeeper and a couple of key defenders as well. But I get where you're coming from. Creativity-wise, Mark, you're right. John Joe Shelby, of course, out long-term as well. Highlighting our lack of strength and depth. How confident is Ross we will make additions before the window shuts? Now, we haven't troubled the loan market yet, Ross. Still lots of names getting bandied around. I have said on more than one occasion in the last couple of weeks when you've been off, I can't wait for this window to close. It feels as if it's been open for a couple of years. But yeah, I mean, Dubravka out to Manchester United, all but announced now. I think it's the worst kept secret in football, and he's going to be going on a season-long loan. What anything at the Chronicle or whatever of other players, what's the Chronicle's line on this?
I think there will be incomings between now and the end of the window if the right deal can be done, the right player can be brought in. I think that they do want to add at least one, possibly two, but there will be loan deals and they're not desperate now. The key one was bringing in a forward player, bringing in someone like obviously they did with Alexander Isak. That was the key deal that they needed to get done. It's taken the pressure off quite a bit, but I do still expect there to be one more probably brought in, possibly two. And it will be loan deals. They'll look at the loan market, see who becomes available between now and the last hours of the window. There's always a bit of movement late on, whereby clubs get a couple of deals done and then they can go, right, actually we don't need this player and we might look to loan him out. Whether that's going back to Chelsea for Conor Gallagher or a Pulisic or somebody of that nature. Or whether it's looking elsewhere, but I do expect there to be at least one brought in, possibly two.
Any idea in what position we will be bringing them in? Do you think midfield is where we're looking at? Do you think the goalkeeper going out? Do you think that? Do you think we're okay with the goalkeepers, Ross? What's your feelings?
I'll start with the goalkeeper one, Steve. I find this one really, really intriguing and interesting in that you could argue now that Newcastle probably got the best 1 and 2 combination in the league, or certainly up there. It's very, very rare that you find two goalkeepers at a club who are of kind of equal stature. There's often one which is a lot better at a lot higher level than the second one. So I think with Dubravka and Nick Pope, when Nick Pope was signed in the summer, he was always going to start. He was always going to come into that team, and he was always going to be the number one. And I think I've said on this show previously that I wouldn't have been surprised if Dubravka left before the window closed. And as it's turned out, it looks like that's going to be the case. I think Newcastle are still well enough stocked with goalkeepers. They'll still have Carl Darlow and Gillespie as well. Now, let's be honest, Darlow and Gillespie aren't at the same level as Dubravka or Pope. I don't think I'm not being disparaging to either goalkeeper. That's a fact. But if you're looking at somebody to come in for 2 or 3 games or a month or something, if Nick Pope gets injured, then Darlow's an able enough deputy. You wouldn't necessarily want him to be starting every game, which is what would happen obviously if there was a longer term problem with Nick Pope. But that's why the Dubravka one's slightly surprising. But he obviously wants to go. There's obviously things that have been said and gone on behind the scenes. He wants to leave. He wants he wants to play football, but he's not. Having said that, is he going to go to Man United and oust David De Gea? I would think not. I can't really see it. I think he's going to go there and sit on the bench as well at Man United. Arguably, maybe he's get some Europa League games or some European nights. that I can see that, but that's why it's a little bit of a strange one. I could understand Dubravka going if he was going to be going somewhere where he was going to be playing week in, week out, regular football leading up into World Cups and this, that, and the other. But I don't really see it at Man United, which is a bit of a head scratcher. But there we go. He's moving on. So I think, wish him the best of luck. He's been a fantastic servant to Newcastle over the last 3 or 4 years. Arguably the most consistent player over the last since he joined. I think it's fair to say. So it's an interesting one. In terms of other incomes, I think midfield will definitely be an area where they'll look to strengthen with a loan deal, something short term while Shelby's out, while there's a little bit of a doubt over Bruno's fitness, just to be sure that they've got cover. As Ashley Maitland-Niles has been linked with the club today. I do believe that there's a strong interest there. Whether it actually goes through or not, we'll wait and see. But somebody like him wouldn't be the worst shout in the world, because he can play midfield, he can play fullback, he can cover a couple of different positions, which is probably what's required. But midfield will certainly be an area I think that they'll look to bring an extra one in between now and the end of the window.
Yeah, I would agree with Derek here as well. Dubravka will probably only play the cup games for Manchester. Yeah, I would agree. Tom Dixon asking a question about the work permit. How long does it normally take to go through? Steve Middlemas commenting as well, saying, has Isaac got his work permit yet? Perquetta got his today. Casemiro got his in 24 hours. I did see some other person comment about Moy saying that theirs only came through. There it is, Steve, Dan. Moy said the paperwork was only done last night. Yeah, you can understand the paranoia on behalf of Newcastle fans, can't you? When other work permits seem to go through quite quickly. Why is ours taking so long?
Yeah, look, I don't know the situation. I'm not well enough versed in work permits. It's an area which the paperwork has to be filed. A lot of the hoops have to be jumped through, the bank holiday weekends, obviously delayed things as well. The Paqueta one, if that's gone through, then that's ahead of the Isaac one. Then that's obviously slightly surprising, but I do believe it'll go through in good time and get through. Whether he would have needed a work permit before Brexit, I've seen that mentioned as well. Again, I'm not well enough versed in the ins and outs and the legalities of it. I wouldn't be paranoid. It's just what happens sometimes. Paperwork can be filed incorrectly, or there can be glitches at different systems. It's the same as when you're going through any sort of channels like that. But he'll get done. I fully expect it to be completed before the Liverpool game as well.
Yeah, Michael's saying, I understand Dubravka wanting to leave, but personally not sure why we're doing Man U a favour after the way they've treated us, while at the same time weakening ourselves. I dislike the move. I guess it's because Dubravka wants to go. He's not happy that he's been pushed out as number one, and he's now playing second fiddle to Nick Pope. So, like we say, it does make for a strange move going to Manchester, where he's going to be sitting on the bench. But at the same time, it's not a great deal we can do, Ross, when the player's not happy.
There's not. Ideally, maybe you'd send him to a different club, but I'm sure Newcastle have got a decent deal on it. Whether there's a decent loan fee, or whatever it might be. I think it's just one of those. Sometimes you have to accept that a player's going to move on, and you have to accept that he's going to go to a club that you don't necessarily want him to do. It does look very odd from the outside. You are strengthening another Premier League team's squad, and you are, I suppose, weakening yours a little bit. He is going to a club where he's going to sit on the bench predominantly. I'm convinced of that. So it all around, it feels like a very, very funny deal, but it is what it is. There must be some reason behind it. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but there must be strong reason somewhere.
Elliot Anderson for the midfield says Don. I mean, Elliot Anderson has come in, and there was talk about him potentially getting loaned out. Would he be good enough for a place in the team? It's great to see a local lad doing well, Ross, and he almost got the winner at Wolves at the weekend. It
would have been a fantastic moment for him. He obviously crashed that header off the bar. He was involved in the winning the free kick right at the end, which he just seems to create things. He just seems to spark things. He just seems to get himself into good positions. I'd love to see him given given a go in one of the upcoming games and from the start. Whether that's going to happen or not, or whether Eddie Howe might look and think he's just best used as almost like a bit of an impact sub to when games are getting a little bit stretched, or to bring on in closing moments. I don't know, but I think he's certainly not doing himself any harm with his performances when he does come off. I thought he was one of the better players against Tranmere in what was, in my opinion, a pretty average performance by Newcastle, and by a lot of Newcastle players. A lot of bigger name players and a lot of more experienced players just didn't seize that opportunity, didn't step up to the mark. I thought Elliot Anderson was one of the bright sparks against Tranmere. He certainly looked the part when he came on against Wolves. I'd love to see him in the starting 11 fairly soon, and if he continues the way he is, and certain players in that team, in that midfield, continue with some of their average performances, then I'm sure he will get a chance.
And the other thing I was wanting to say as well was this one from Dan, putting a bit of perspective onto the Dubravka deal. He goes, 6 million for a 33-year-old top earner and second choice. I'm not against it. Would have loved to have rinsed them, but favours us. And I think trying to build up a relationship with Manchester United instead of, doing what they did to us, I think makes more sense. We don't need to be antagonistic. If we can do them a favour, they're more inclined to do us a favour at some point when we need one. So that would be my mindset anyway. For me, Anderson starts tomorrow, says Mark. I wouldn't be against it, and maybe that's what he'll have to do. I've seen a lot of criticism of Longstaff by fans, and again, it's the same old faces and the same people, I guess, who have a pop at Wood, unless it's somebody performing triple turnovers and slipping through great balls, etc. People don't sometimes understand the dirty work that has to be done in a team. You need these players who just simply put their foot in and win the balls, and they concentrate on the negatives, like giving the ball away, or Chris Wood hasn't scored 10 goals this season, so it's a waste of time having him in the squad. I mean, I personally feel that these players will still be vital to us throughout the season at some point. What's your making it? It's a social media thing, isn't it? Really.
It is, and look, we've all, that's the beauty of football. We've all got opinions. We've all got different opinions. We all see the game very, very differently. I know I watched the game, and I did on Sunday alongside other people who watch the same game. In I thought certain players had done okay, and lads sat with me disagreed. And that's the beauty of football. Sean Longstaff, for me, I thought he did okay against. I don't think he pulled up any trees, but I thought he always wanted the ball. He was always showing for it. He was. You knew he was in the game. You knew he was there. Sometimes he played the right ball. Sometimes he played the wrong ball. That's the way it goes. But he's doing that kind of anchor role that Shelby and Bruno have done previously. And without him there, who would play that anchor role? I'm not 100% certain. I don't know if there would be. I thought he did okay. I thought he was involved in the game a heck of a lot more than a couple of other players. Joe Willock is one, and I'm not having a go at Joe Willock. I just thought he didn't have a particularly impactful game against Wolves, and I thought Longstaff was better. With Sean Longstaff, the other thing I would say is I think he needs a run of games. I think he just needs a run of games to build his confidence, to build his fitness, to build his rhythm. Rather than being in and out, 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, then he's starting, then all of a sudden he's out of the team. I think for a player like him, it feels like he could do with a run of games to get his rhythm, to get his confidence up, to understand his role in the team. I'm not saying he's going to be the next big thing, or he's absolutely the answer, but I think there's definitely potential there. I think you have to trust Eddie Howe. He's handed him a new contract. He's wanted him to stay. He could have quite easily been on his way this summer. Eddie Howe sees that there's a player there, so. Yeah, it's good enough for me. But look, social media and fans are always it's always gonna be divisive. People are always gonna have their own different opinions, as long as it's done within in the right spirit, and it doesn't start getting personal. Doesn't start getting over the top on social media, on Twitter or wherever else towards players and towards other fans who have different opinions. And I'm quite comfortable with it. But you've had it, Steve. I've had it. Where you're there to offer an opinion on a platform, and next thing you know, you're getting absolute dog's abuse, and some of it can be very vicious. Some of it's way over the top. Some of it is just good nature, different opinions, and that's fine. So let's all keep it in perspective. But that's the beauty of football. At the same time, we all say it very differently.
Yeah, any truth in Dendonka from Wolves? It's one that's been mentioned in dispatches the last 24 hours. I mean, have you seen anything floating around about that one, Ross?
It's not one that I've been made aware of. That's not to say that doesn't happen, because I don't know everything, obviously. But it's not one that's been mentioned to me. I think he's a decent enough turn, but it's not one that I've been made aware of too much.
Okay, Michael says, is Liverpool a free hit, lads? Is it a chance to experiment a little? Should we be more focused on the Palace game at the weekend? I don't think I like the free hit thing, especially now, when we're spending money, and, the squad will be disciplined and play in a certain way. We've still got Nick Pope, we've still got Matty Targett, we've still got Kieran Trippier, Sven Botman, Dan Burn, Fabian Shaw. We've got a very, very strong back four. Obviously we're lacking in creativity. We've still got a midfield that's playing plenty of Premier League games. It's up front as well. We could be struggling, but I don't like this free hit thing. Newcastle experimenting. I think they'll go with as minimal changes as possible and try and go down there and get something. That they'll be under no false dawns that this could be an easy game, because it never is at Anfield. Our record tells you that. But it's, we go down there and give a Newcastle United performance and try and come back with something, or at least, not get hammered, I guess.
Yeah, look, every game that you go into, you want to do as well. I understand what Michael's saying there. I do understand what he's getting at. But I agree with you. I think the way the club's at now, it's the club's bang in the public eye. The club's the club's got a profile again, and all of a sudden, I'm not saying Newcastle United is as big as or as good as some of the rest of the teams in the Premier League, but the club is now a bit of a target on its back. So we should be going into every game hoping to and trying, obviously, the best, but it's going to be a tough game. Liverpool, that there's no two ways about it. Their performance and result, obviously, on Saturday was incredible, and they can do that to teams. They can rip teams apart very, very easily if you're not on it. And they've done it to Newcastle in the past, where they've ripped them apart when the team hasn't been on it, and that's just the way it is with the top teams. Newcastle aren't quite there yet. In terms of it being a free hit as well, so I was thinking about this about Elliot Anderson. Would you put him into a game like that, like Liverpool? Go on, son, get yourself in at Anfield, big stage. Let's see what you can do, or do you risk setting them back a little bit? What I didn't like with Steve Bruce at times was he seemed to put Matty Longstaff in just games against Man United at Old Trafford or Liverpool at Anfield or whatever, then take him straight out of the team again when there was an easier game, if you like. So I wouldn't want to, shatter somebody's confidence by playing them at Anfield and them barely getting a touch and being quite demoralised. But equally, for a young lad who goes in with no fear and no worries about taking on the big boys, it could be a breath of fresh air as well.
Wood works his socks off, it says there. Yeah, sorry, my mic was off. Wood works his socks off. I agree, Don, 100%, mate. He's somebody who puts a lot of time and effort into his game, and just because he doesn't score goals, he gets a lot of criticism from certain fans. An agent Dubravka on his last big payday, I think we've had the best of him anyway. Poor distribution, lack of authority in the box. If he's not happy, fair enough, let him move on, Mark. I would agree. And Derek loves Anderson's style, loves a player who's more direct with the ball at their feet. Other questions. Pedro, says Tom, I mean, is this still a possibility? I mean, it's gone very quiet on that. That was a hot topic when you were off, Ross. Pedro from Watford deals, the deal going in, and potentially, we still need a creative player, and maybe that is something that Newcastle would pursue over the next, over the remaining hours of the transfer window.
It could be, yeah. I'm surprised the deal didn't go through, but whether they switched the focus to Isaac when they knew that Isaac became available, or when they became aware that Callum Wilson's injury situation wasn't quite how they wished it, and they wanted to go with a different profile of player. It's gone very quiet, that one. Again, I don't see there being a big move between now and the window closing. I don't see there being a big investment. I might be wrong, but that's just how I'm reading it. I think there's potential for a couple of loan deals in operating on that market. Whether Pedro could be one of those loan deals, I don't know, but I doubt it, given that where the situation was with Watford just a week or so ago. So I do think that they need another player in, another forward in. I really do, another creative player. I think that it needs to be whether it's a right winger or another forward or a midfield creator like a Maddison or someone like Conor Gallagher who can get goals from midfield. I do think that they need to bring another one in that ilk, but it's not just reading between the lines. It doesn't look like the Pedro one's going to be resurrected.
Okay, big shout out to our sponsors as always. Thanks to Skips and Bins. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, independent funeral directors. You can find them at 304 Old Durham Road, Gateshead, NE8 4BQ, and telephone 0191 478 273, or website www.darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. And thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickies.co.uk or by telephoning 01768 210 102. Thanks to Away Day Clothing, and thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video technology. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. If you want to subscribe, hit the NUFC Matters logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe for free. Hit the thumb up under the video to like it, and click share to share to your social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and the rest. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show has finished. If you're a subscriber, email John at nufcmatters.com and you will get a free car sticker. If you want to join the channel and help us, click join underneath and you can make a donation with one of the packages there. Or you can use your smartphone and scan it with your smartphone. Scan the QR code. It takes you straight to the NUFC Matters membership pack. Now for that, with a one-off payment, you get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, and entry into the monthly draw. Don't forget as well, we support NUFC Fans Food Bank on the channel. Simply go to the website and an amount and pay a donation today. nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. Peter Beardsley Soccer School as well, still up and running in the Northeast. If you want to get booked onto the next courses, go to the website info@peterbeirdsley.soccerschool.com. And don't forget as well, we are in conjunction with Football Prizes, giving away a Newcastle United squad signed shirt. It's one of a kind, custom framed. Tickets are £3.95. So get yourself onto the Football Prizes link. I will stick it up in the chat. And good luck. Gets drawn this Thursday. Okay, back to the people in the chat. Plenty of comments and questions coming in. Michael says the problem for Longstaff is he's replaced Bruno. Sean is nowhere near the player Bruno is and never will be. Expecting the same level of performance from Sean is realistic. And Derek says, I think Longstaff broke the attack up well at Wolves. It was just his lack of forward passing and taking too many touches. Michael then goes on to say that Willock's more of a concern for him. He says, I don't see a 90-minute player there, and the best use is as an impact sub when players are trying. Would like to see us upgrade centre midfield with one more. And Sank says, one right winger and one midfielder. We need to get in, but who could they be? Eddie Howe doesn't want someone randomly. Should be the right character and talent. Also with buying, it's difficult to do, and it is difficult to do. Stephen says, do you think we could play Longstaff as a defensive midfielder just in front of the back four, Ross?
I think that's where he's going to play over the next couple of games while Bruno and Shelby are unavailable. I think I'm not convinced that's his best position, but I think that's be where he where he potentially has to slot in that kind of sitting role just in front of the back four, getting on the ball, looking to pass, breaking the play up when he gets the opportunity as well. No, Shelby's not the greatest defensive player, but Eddie Howe likes him in that role, so he can get his foot on the ball and try to dictate play. I think that's what Sean Longstaff's going to have to try and do over the next few games. I do think his better position is probably slightly more forward in the midfield three, but because of the injury situation, because of the way the cards have fallen, that's going to be where he's probably going to get his opportunity over the next few weeks.
Okay, interesting. There's another rumour, Gakpo. I've never heard of him, Geordie Timberlake, I've got to be honest. Ross, I can imagine that you've probably drawn a blank on that one as well. I've not seen that.
No, again, it's not one that's come across mine. I mean, he has been strongly linked with Man United in recent weeks. Whether that's just that was as a kind of backup in case they didn't sign Anthony. So he's a talented player. He's got a lot of players, a lot of clubs interested in him. I think Southampton have been interested in him. I've got a contact down in Southampton who's mentioned his name as well. So it's not somebody that I've come across being linked with Newcastle though.
Yeah, me neither. Would Longstaff benefit from a loan move? I don't think Eddie Howe's interested in loaning him out, the return, to be perfectly honest. Michael says, I'm more concerned about picking up further injuries that affect our ability for the more winnable games at the weekend. From our perspective, injuries, we don't want anymore, 100%. Paul says, Crystal Palace is going to be a hard game. They're a decent side. Yeah, they are. But so are Newcastle these days, and we will have players back. Tom says, once the window closes, is that when the 25-man squad has to be announced? Or not, lads? It is, yeah. The 25-man squad is announced after that, I think. That is when it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a chance Bobby Clark will be playing against us tomorrow? Terry, I think he'll be on the bench. Made his debut, and I know that Lee and the family were there and delighted to be able to see him make his debut. Derek asks an interesting one. He goes, is it too early to be using all of our good players for cup runs? A couple of injuries will affect our Premier League final positioning. You know what? It opens up an interesting question, because what are people's priorities this season? Me personally, I'd love to see Newcastle give the League Cup a good run. If the draw opens up, which it can do in that cup competition, you could end up at Wembley, and Newcastle at Wembley so early into a takeover would be fantastic. And depending on who you're playing, you've got a chance. We showed against Manchester City, one of the best teams in the world, that we've got nothing to fear. And how's your luck? You go to a cup final, you can win it. It's the best team on the day. So Derek, for me, I think you do play your best players in a cup game. And, I think the league will look after itself. We aren't going to be bottom three. I think two of those bottom spots are already decided, almost. I think Bournemouth and Notts Forest are looking desperate. I just don't think Notts Forest, with all this upheaval of players coming in, will be able to sustain any kind of momentum, because there's a whole team trying to get used to each other. It just doesn't work like that in the Premier League. And Bournemouth won't spend money. Scott Parker's already lost his job today because of that. I genuinely feel there's only one more slot to fill. And I think there's plenty of people who will fill that, and it won't be Newcastle. So go for Wembley, go for broke. Go for broke in that League Cup. It's the next game is not till November anyway. That would be my theory anyway. What about you, Ross?
Yeah, it's a balancing act, isn't it, for Eddie Howe, because he's probably going to want to give a couple of players a rest and use his squad to the best of his ability and bring one or two players in to try and just keep them fresh, just in case they're needed in league games and stuff like that. I didn't have too much of an issue with the team that he selected against Tranmere. I thought it was fair enough. I thought it was still pretty strong for that. He made 9-10 changes, however many it was. I think you take it on a game by game basis, so you can probably afford to do that against the Tranmere. But if you're coming up against a Premier League team at Palace or whoever, then you might want to go a little bit stronger. We all want to see a cup run. We all want to see a really, really strong, deep run in one of the cups, and the League Cup's a great opportunity, I think, for Newcastle to try and push into the quarters, semi-finals. It should really be a target, I think. But it's just balancing that up with playing the right team. I don't think look, Matt Ritchie I thought was really, really disappointing against Tranmere. I thought Willett was. I thought Murphy was. I thought there was several that were really, really disappointing. Who were given chances and didn't kind of grab them for me. But if you're not going to play those guys in those games, then you probably, as a manager, you have a few issues with them. You're going to have a few concerns or players knocking on your door, or if God forbid there's more injuries and you're going to rely on these players, you need them to have a little bit of match fitness. So I can see the balance in that someone like Eddie Howe's got to do, but certainly I would be going a little bit stronger in a lot of the games in the next round. Sorry, of the League Cup.
Yeah, Michael, we were talking about this Liverpool fixture on the way back from Wolves the other night. Newcastle seem to play Liverpool midweek all the time. Sometimes the fixture list bamboozles me. It really, really does. It just does feel as if they're making it more difficult for us at times. What about Ross Barkley, Ross? Free agent, worth a gamble?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I would probably, you've asked us the question, so I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'll say no. I think he's not quite what Newcastle need at the minute. I think I'd rather have somebody in this squad who is a bit more defensive minded. I think who can sit in front of that back four a little bit more. Barkley's obviously a fantastic player, and it has been at times. He's very in and out, very up and down, very inconsistent. It just there's something with it. It just doesn't sit right for me. So I wouldn't fancy him, but I can see why a lot of people would.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. It's not for me. Again, he's a bit like some of these other players that you constantly bandied around, who then end up on free transfers, and there's a reason that they're in that kind of position. And for me, I think it's one to avoid. I really, really do. Any news on Shelvey? Well, I mean, we know that he's just essentially continuing his recuperation, isn't he? He's I don't think there's been any change on his date for coming back to the first team duties.
No, he's going to be out for a considerable amount of time. We might not. Hopefully, we will see him back before the World Cup break, but it might be deep in kind of October before he's back.
Yeah, looking at Botman, he looks like he's settled in well at Newcastle. Says Tom, he has, hasn't he?
He has. I still think, and I hope that there's more to come from him. I hope that he will continue to develop and become a real leader of that kind of back four. But yeah, he settled in quite nicely. He does a lot of good things. His positioning in a lot of times is really strong as well and solid. And he looks like he could be a really strong addition. But he's only 21. He's still got a lot of the game to learn. He's still got lots of things to learn about the Premier League and playing against against top quality players. Against Man City, I thought he struggled a little bit, but he's up against, you know, Haaland and De Bruyne and people like that, getting into little pockets and little places and threading balls through, and the movement and everything else is exceptional. But look, let's give him all the time to settle in and prove to be a real asset.
Steve Middlemiss says Longstaff defensive midfielder, not for me. Passing not good enough out of defence. Yeah, there's one or two who are susceptible to a misplaced pass in our team at times. Cody Gapco from PSV, just for info, Steve. Thanks, Geordie, to my life. I'll have a look at him. Longstaff, first half against Wolves was terrible. Too many misplaced passes. Kevin, again, agreeing with Steve. Putting pressure on his teammates. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I've seen it myself. Trippier's not one for, hitting the man every time either. You know, some World Cup balls, as we used to call them on a Sunday morning, tend to go a bit awry and then putting the team back under pressure. But it's, listen, Sean Longstaff is certainly a favourite of Eddie Howe. I don't see him going anywhere soon. Keep a winning side playing, in my opinion. Colin, I would agree, but it is difficult. When you get these injuries, from my perspective, I think this is very difficult. Do you think Federico Fernandez will go to Stoke City? They are interested, says Tom. Yeah, it's another strange conundrum we've talked about on here many, many times. Federico Fernandez not playing for Newcastle, available on the bench, not getting a run out. A lot of us rate him as well, but is there a chance he could be going out the exit door and joining Alex Neil?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the point that I think Tom made earlier about the 25-man squad. So we'll wait and see closer to the end of the window about potential incomings and where the club's at in terms of numbers. Because if someone like Fernandez isn't going to be in the 25, and at this minute in time it's probably doubtful that he will be, then why not get him out on loan to another club? That's going to be the interesting dilemma, I suppose, for Eddie Howe between now and the window as well, is who's going to be in his 25. What positions has he got? Does he feel he's got adequate cover for? He's obviously lost Emil Kraft, who can play in a number of positions in defence, whether it's be fullback or even centrally sometimes. So he might think he needs an extra central defender in the squad just to his cover. Or he might feel that he's got enough with Lascelles, Share, Botman, Dan Burn, potentially Dummett can play as a centre half as well. He might feel that he's got enough. So yeah, wait and see closer to the end of the window in what his 25-man squad is kind of boiling down to be.
Cup can be good, but teams like Tranmere prove that without adequate officialdom, they can potentially destroy a player's career, says Stephen. I've got to agree, mate, yeah. But if you want to win the Cup, that's what you've got to do. Squad quality is paper thin, to be honest. Don't want another fight at the bottom. Every team is strengthened apart from Bournemouth. Forest, Steve just signed a quality left back. Yeah, but they're signing players like they're going out of fashion. It doesn't. You can't just put players together. And, you've got to be extremely lucky if they all suddenly gel. And what about the players who got them up? And have to let anybody go. And just financial fair play just count for Newcastle and nobody else. I really just don't understand any of it. Geordie Toomba says, can you believe it? Sky saying we're among clubs interested in Cody Gakpo. Unbelievable, Jeff. Well, whoever Cody Gakpo is, I don't know what a name that is, by the way. Will Isaac play tomorrow? Has his visa gone through? Blue Rhythm Boy, we covered it at the start of the show. We don't really know yet. Senk says, my biggest frustration is being Paqueta signed for West Ham. We should have signed him instead, but we need to move on anyway. I just don't believe it was ever going to happen after we signed Bruno. Obviously reading back and reading a lot of people's comments in the chat, we were in for him originally, or we were looking at him. We saw Bruno and took Bruno. So Blue Rhythm Boy saying, I don't think we're ever in for him. Would have got him early doors if we had, in my opinion. But yeah, look. It's gone now. It's done and dusted. No use crying over spilt milk. Any chance that we're in for Tielemans? Again, Leicester. another club we've been keeping tabs on, Tielemans and Maddison. I mean, I still have a feeling we could go in for Maddison one more time, but we'd have to go in with a a concrete, solid offer, which is not under what they value him at. I think you go in at 60 million and that's it. I think that's why they took the loan out, Ross. To go in and do that, and I believe that they could prize Maddison away, because Leicester have got off to a bad start, and Brendan Rodgers is under pressure.
Yeah, he is. They've not really strengthened. They're going to lose Fofana. I don't think they'll lose anybody else. I think they're probably going to lose one, and that'll be Fofana, and then they might try and have a little mad scramble at the end of the window to bring one or two in. Maddison's a decent player. I don't know if that ship sailed though. I don't know if that ship is gone and it's not the type of player they're looking at, or whether there's the funds there. Spent a lot of money on Alexander Isaac, and I know budgets change and everything else like that, but I do think it's probably taking them almost as much as where they can, unless a really good opportunity, really good deal comes up between now and the end of the window. But I think they will want to keep a little bit of that powder dry for January as well, and potentially strengthen again in January. I think I'm staggered that Tielemans is still at Leicester, to be honest. He's only got 12 months left on his contract. He's a fantastic player. Doesn't look like he wants to sign a new deal at Leicester. You would have thought they would have maybe tried to move him on this summer. So I'm surprised that he's still there, because on his day he's a really, really top class midfielder in the Premier League.
Yeah. Scott asking the question, which I touched on it slightly at the start there. Why are we having a few injuries already? Is the work rate too much? It's finding a fine balance, isn't it, between getting players at a certain level, or as Steve Bruce did, getting people at a certain level the other way. It's that's one of them situations, isn't it? So I don't think the work rate's too much. They're just very, very fit players now, and
I think if you have some impact injuries where it's unavoidable. Emil Kraft, just really unlucky, and with the way he's got injured. But Newcastle as well, what we have to remember and realise that Newcastle are playing at a very, very high tempo this season. They've stepped the work rate up. They've stepped the style of football that they want to play up. They're moving into a higher pressing game. Closing down high up the pitch, putting a lot of time and energy and effort into their work. They're not sitting back and just hitting teams on the break. They want to dominate. They want to lead. So that's going to increase the strain on players as well. But it's as simple as sometimes it's just fate and things happen and you pick up an injury. I do think at the same point is that Newcastle do have one or two players who are a little bit fragile as well. Callum Wilson getting injured after a few games, is it really a surprise to anybody? We talked about it in previous shows and in previous weeks and months, that there was always a concern about his fitness record, always a concern about Ryan Fraser's fitness record. He picks up a lot of injuries just because of the type of player that he is. So some of it's unavoidable, some of it's down to the players themselves. Some of it's down to the style of play and the amount of effort and energy that they're exerting. It's just it's a combination of things, I think.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Is the training ground refurb finished yet, Ross, or is it still a bit of a building site there? Michael, it's going to be ongoing that all the way through the season. I've spoken to somebody who is involved in it, and that isn't a quick fix. That will be going on throughout the season, and they're working around the first team schedule. That's the way it's working. So there's a big crane in there. You'll have seen on other YouTube channels those the likes of Adam Pearson, who goes up to the training ground. I think he's focused on this big crane. It's there for the duration. So I think by the start of next season, it should be all finished. Don't forget as well, we've got a bit of a break with the World Cup. But yeah, I mean, the plans that I've seen of this are fantastic. But it's a short-term fix as well. They are looking to relocate. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the race course The Rubens have got that up there, huge space available, no issues with parking, privacy, etc. And I just think, I think they will move at some point. But at the moment, my understanding is that it's going to drag on. Lots of people commenting on why we shouldn't have Barkley. Lots of allegations, which I won't repeat on the show. But yeah, I mean, it just sounds like he's off the field antics potentially are things which have, maybe he's caused his exits from various places. Kevin Smith says, what do you think of the comments from Nunes about the type of football we played, i.e. long ball? Ludicrous, that, Ross. I mean, I just put it down to knee-jerk comments after a game, really. Especially when the stats came out and there was various people on Twitter then highlighting the fact that, everything he said was absolutely rubbish. But it was a bit of sour grapes, I think.
Yeah, it was. It was, it was a bit odd. It was all a bit odd. I thought, I'll be honest, when I watched the game live, it didn't feel that Newcastle had the amount of possession that the stats ultimately showed. Just, it didn't feel that. I was a bit surprised when I saw them stats come up. I thought it would have been a bit closer, but yeah, look, you take with a pinch of salt sometimes the opposition's comments after a game, especially when they've conceded a late equaliser or late goal or whatever. So yeah, it was just a little bit of a nonsense comment for me. Not really worth getting too head up about.
Journalists covering the strip as well, Ross. I mean, it's always going to be a bone of contention. Ben Jacobs on the show a couple of times has said, maybe if PIF came out and said something, these kind of things would stop. I don't think they will. And I'm not, again, you're a journalist. I don't expect, we're not going to go into the who's done this and who said what. But it's the same old journalists coming out with this narrative. And it's getting a bit boring now. But Newcastle put a strip on and suddenly it's, well, that'll be a bit controversial. Just let it go. We've got the takeover through. We've done it and just move on, for God's sake.
Yeah, look, I think I said when the strip thing was first announced and I said on this show that I felt it was a little bit of a PR gaffe. I haven't changed my mind.
Yeah, no, you haven't changed your mind. Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit unnecessary. I just didn't see the need for it. It was always going to attract controversy and whatever. But it's happened now. It's been and gone. I've got no issue at all with people have different opinions and let's make sure that. For me, if there are issues or concerns around some of the Saudi stuff, which there will be, the term sports washing has been used, plenty of times, and I've got no inclination to go into it in too much depth here, and I'm sure a lot of people on here probably aren't in that mindset at the minute either. So what I will say is that there's nothing wrong with highlighting concerns if you've got concerns against Saudi regime and some of the things that's been doing. That's why that's the good thing that something like this can hopefully shine a torch and bring help bring change. Newcastle can be a vehicle to improve relations and improve the way the spotlight is shone on certain things. But let's try and focus on the football as well. And it's not about it's not for the fans necessarily to be answering questions. The questions need to be asked of different people at government level, at ownership level, not necessarily pointing fingers at the fans and pressing the self-destruct button there. But look, it's unfortunately because of the situation Newcastle are in and the ownership they have, then we're going to have to get used to certain questions being asked. That's unfortunate. It's not going to go away. It just depends on how they're framed and how they're responded to as well.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Look, there's certain journalists who will continue to make a big issue of it. You don't do that. You made your point. You've said it, and that's it. We'll move on. Rehashing it, bringing it back. It's just a waste of time. Stop. It
is. It's Newcastle are a story now, Steve, or a different story. There's a different narrative, and certain journalists have got a certain agenda that they like to follow and they want to follow. And look, I agree with some stuff that some's written, and I vehemently disagree with others. But a lot of it, I don't like how it's framed. I don't like how an article or how a conversation is framed to make a point or to push a certain narrative. I like to see a bit of balance in everything else like that. About look, some of the stuff I don't feel comfortable with, and I know for a fact that a lot of fans aren't 100% comfortable with some stuff. But make your point, and then let's move on, and let's try to focus on the good, but without neglecting some of the areas of concern, and making sure that a light is still shone on some practices which do need to still be improved.
Mark Todd, does Pedro and Maddison seem like the only two players we genuinely bid on? Do you believe these offers are still on the table? I do, and I still think we'll see some kind of movement on those. But that's just my feeling, Mark. It's not anything I've heard, but I do feel that Newcastle will still move on one, if not both, and the loan market as well. Conor Gallagher blotted his copybook, I think, at the weekend. He's suspended for 3 games. We need people who can come in and help now, not really, someone who comes in and suspended for 3 games. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Look, it'll all be over in a couple of days. Happy days. The kit on Sunday looked like a thing of beauty. I don't care what others think, says Michael. I think our squad is good. I would have just liked a few, like Lingard, Barkley and Bale. Dear me, how rampage. Lingard, for me, mercenary. Barkley, nah. Bale, again, he'd be close house more than he'd be at St James's Park, I think. But that's all about opinions. Okay, I've concern, but I've some NUFC, give some NUFC fans crap for not doing anything about it. It's ridiculous, says Chantel. Steven says journalist concerns with Saudi should also be the same with the Chinese, the Russians, and even American links to our football clubs. Never mind the World Cup, which they and our national team will attend. Yeah, it goes on and on. This is the point. This is the point, Stephen. I'm sorry, Ross, but I totally disagree. The kit is nice. It's a government issue, not ours. Again, it does cause a lot of controversy. We've discussed lots and lots on here. The thing is, there's different cultures and laws across the world. I don't see how we can force our ways and culture onto the rest of the world, says Derek. Any outgoings expected, Ross, says Fallen Angel.
Obviously Dubravka, Matty Longstaff will probably go out on loan. There'll probably be another couple of loan departures as well. So yeah, I think probably just loan deals at this point in time. Don't see anybody else going out really.
As a former soldier in the First Gulf War, we had air support for Saudi, saved lots of lives. Enough said about that. End of rant. Thank you, mate. 2 yellows. Yes, Geordie Toomberlife. Good job, yo. He had to keep me right. Yeah, so it's a 1-match ban. Yeah, I thought it was just straight red. So I take it, Steve, you will be watching Transfer Deadline till it's over. Colin, I did say I was going to cover it this window. Dear me, how. Honestly, I'll be having a drink when it's over to celebrate the fact that it's over, and then it's going to be opening up again. Opening up again in January, but hopefully it'll be a bit quieter. Ross, coming to that part of the show, just for you to give a plug. Where can people find your work, and what are you up to these days?
Yeah, so doing a lot of stuff in the background with the Chronicle and the company that owns the Chronicle Reach, also in the Daily Mirror and the Express, doing a lot of stuff on newsletters. So we've got a lot of newsletters which we're getting football fans to sign up to, and trying to provide them with the type of content that they want. So yeah, that's keeping me busy. You can find me on Twitter, Ross Gregory 9, or get yourself along to the Glebe and watch a Wickham game pretty soon, and you'll find me there on the dugout. Sorry, not on the dugout, on the gate, on the cafe, sweating myself daft, or getting stressed because I can't count people's change when they give us a £5 and I need to give them £2 change. I get myself perplexed. But yeah, come and have a chat with us at a Wickham game soon if you fancy.
And how have Wickham started?
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Yeah, about 3rd or 4th. Lost once this season. Won a couple of FA Cup games. Got a big FA Cup game down at Preston, down at Bamber Bridge on Saturday. Winning the Vars last weekend, and we've got a good game tonight against Newcastle Benfield, who are also flying. That's a league game. So yeah, it's all looking good. I've been there all day today, down at the Glebe today, doing a kids summer camp. About 45 kids down there as well. So helping the community and doing a little bit during the summer holidays. So it's non-stop, mate. It's all good. But yeah, enjoying it.
Rampage, I'll give you the final word. Callum Wilson was on Lingard's level, but he's turned out okay. Zlatan said, we're the sleeping giants. I just hope we can keep St Maximin and Shaw. Great stuff. Lots of people saying great show. Thank you very much. I'm at Liverpool tomorrow night, so no live show. But what I have managed to do, quite a few years ago now, I brought the entertainers back together. Kevin Keegan, David Ginola, Tino Aspria, a few others. to boot as well. Here's a couple more photographs. Philip Albert, Lee Clark, Alan Shearer, all played in that game. Newcastle United legends versus Liverpool legends at Kingston Park. It was sold out. Over 12,000 supporters there that night, I think it was, or 10,000, sorry, that afternoon. And we raised money for a lot of charities. That game has never been broadcast on since the day. So I've loaded it onto YouTube. 5:30 tomorrow night. You can tune in and watch Newcastle United legends versus Liverpool legends. It's the full game. Commentary from Joe Allen. Wow. It's interesting. And an appearance from a rather overweight Steve Wraith, who comes on for Pavel Cernacek with 5 minutes to go and gives away something rather controversial. But tune in, watch it, enjoy it. And Dan says, that game made me dad's year in a cancer battle. Steve will always be grateful. Thank you, Dan. Much appreciated. Enjoy the rewatch. It's worth it. I think there's a few interviews on there as well. Nice little build-up for Newcastle versus Liverpool tomorrow night. But as always, great to have Ross back. Thanks for all your insight, mate. Get in, mate. The next time I've got you on, the transfer window will be closed.
I know. What will we talk about? What will we talk about?
There's always plenty to talk about on NUFC Matters. Ross, pleasure as always. Take care, mate.
Cheers, guys.